expectations of yourself, I would assume, although a year is a long time in Hearthstone. No, we're only on year 4, so...
I think the mindset of pretty much every player who is not a professional competitive Hearthstone player is, I'm going to do my best and let's see what happens.
Yeah, leading the Swiss, so let's see how he goes with that.
It is going to be, once again, that even Paladin, the same matchup that we saw as the first game, I believe, of the last series between Boston and Faeli. And it's looking like a pretty similar start, where Pardub has got himself the hand. Yeah, he's happy with that. You're always happy to see a hand like that. And it is going to be an uphill climb, I would say, for Arakoj to get the job.
It might not even be a climb at all.
A downward spiral.
Just an absolute beating. But well, to be fair, get this early start with Corpse Taker is always a problem.
He's also got a pretty good hand.
And currently, so if Pardub uses all this stuff for ramp, he's going to be facing a flying Corpse Taker of Doom on like turn 6. So it's not going to be just plain sailing if he doesn't pick up a Naturalize. Things could go a little bit awkward.
I mean, it's very, very possible. This is, like, Pardub has the hand here, which is obviously what you're looking for pretty much every time. But it has its drawbacks. It's not, it's kind of neither active nor proactive, reactive nor proactive. It's just ramping up for later benefit. It's not dealing with the board, and it's not putting forward any kind of defensive minions either. Oh, never mind that.
And everything we just said, we can now ignore. Pardub playing to the crowd a little bit with the two emotes he's used have been basically aimed at us. Yeah. You can see what I'm doing. And
who is this man?
He is the man who has got everything. Yeah. But again, exactly the same. Just ignore any sort of empty tech problems and go for Corpse Taker, hit you with Blessing of Kings. And it was this situation where, or very similar to situation where Boston just didn't panic. But I think this is slightly different, and this Naturalize might have to be used here.
So what happens if you don't use it? If you just ramp up hero power, you take 14, you're pretty much just dead.
Yeah, you're dead to a lot of cards.
Yeah, okay, because of the fact that you are pretty much just dead if you don't go for it, I agree. It feels bad using a Naturalize before a Kings or a Steed has come down, but I think you have to.
Boston had the luxury, or kind of luxury, of the one-turn Spreading Plague. It was still very patient of him, but he did have that one extra card to interject. This is still a lot of stuff coming in.
Oh yeah, this is scary.
Nice to power up the Hydrologist there, so it can't really be swiped because the Berserk will get buffed.
Good point.
So sort of saying, okay, well, you need another Naturalize.
Yeah. Spreading your threats out nicely.
Yeah. Pardub actually, despite having the emote your opponent hand, found himself in a lot of bother here.
Yeah. Arakoj thinking, come on then, mate, where are your greetings now?
Yeah, I love this when this happens on ladder. They emote you a couple of times and suddenly they're on 10 with no defenses left. Yeah. You're just waiting for them to add you at that point.
Pardub, far from dead though. If we were to see Nourish for ramp, I mean, he's not even dead on board from where we can see, obviously.
Okay. That's all you need when you're panicking. That was a thing that he did.
Yeah, like, obviously you're not attacking into the Armani Berserker beforehand because you buff up its tag then, and going face doesn't really do much, so like, he ends up on the exact same health total. It's an interesting play though, because if he did draw 3 dead cards off of Nourish, even though he's not dead on board, he's probably dead, right?
Yeah,
like, he knows that he'd be very unlikely to survive that next turn.
Yeah, Paladin with 6 mana, they're going to hurt you somehow.
They will do 2 damage, that's not hard.
Now Arakoj is just working out, well, I haven't got lethal now, so how do I make sure I have it next turn? And the instinctive thing is just to start playing these true silvers, but he's not going to mess around with that. He's just going to get his board bigger and more defensive.
The other benefit for going for Nourish for draw was if you do hit some kind of option that lets you survive, like, you can then go coin into UI if you draw that as well. There was a lot of benefit for it.
I think he's just given up, to be honest.
It does now mean
just play a card and concede.
Dead.
I can't win them all.
Wow.
Emote concede.
Wild Growth Twig, Naturalize for a Corpse Taker, double Nourish, just got smorked down.
Yeah.
That's what even Paladin does. This is what we were talking about. We kept saying...
Yeah, Boston made it look silly.
Yeah.
But, like you say, Blessing of Kings is just so good.
And so, what was the big decision? Well, the two big decisions in that game, like Arakoj's hand basically played itself. I think we can both agree.
The buff on the Blessing was just tidy. It did actually stop the double moonfire killing the Hydrologist.
Right. Yeah. It was a small consideration. However, for Pardub, I think the two big decisions he had to make that game were naturalizing the Corpse Taker, which we can both agree we think was correct.
Yep.
And going for the coin Alexstrasza instead of Nourish, which was the more consistent play, but the less optimistic play. And I wonder if he should have anticipated he was in such a bad spot that he has to go for the Nourish to try and find Naturalize, or to try and find a Ferocious Howl to get more armor. Maybe in that spot being a little bit more risky was the way to go.
Oh. Oof. Not where you want to be right now. Okay, I mean, the Vanish is fine. You get some value out of it, and such like, and the Blessing of Kings and Steeds become rubbish. In fact, I'd like to see this Blessing of Kings probably just thrown away here. It's very tempting with Coin and Corpse Take. Actually, Coin
really?
Corpse Take just destroys you before
That's
Vanish gets close.
Yeah, I really like keeping this here. And like you said, Vanish can be very good.
This is the downside of the keep. I was just about to mention this, though. If you get Prep Vanish...
If you get Prep Vanish, then you're pretty happy.
Because you don't need to kill them on turn 4. You can just go for the more consistent, you can't beat anything route. But this is... I'm not going to argue about going for turn 4, hit you for 17 or something. It's fine, honestly.
I don't know. I am also in the camp. I've been talking to some of the players about Quest Rogue. You get half the players, like, I've been talking to Hunter saying he thinks Quest Rogue's rubbish now. Some of the other players saying that Quest Rogue is still the nuts, like it's crazy against all the aggro, all the control decks, sorry, and it still has game against some of the aggro decks. But I don't know. I feel like, what are you even mulliganing for anymore? Like, obviously, you want the Sonya, you want to get the quest activated as soon as possible, but you're just going to die against even Paladin. Like, you don't have anything that stops them from just going face every turn.
Last time I played against this with even Paladin, they completed their quest, they Glacial Sharded everything. I was up against actually 4/4 things, but they had one card in hand, and I just haven't done anything because they've been vanishing and trying to stay alive, and they still lose.
Yeah.
It is just so hard, and this is looking like similar to that. He's going to get a really good start.
Yeah,
but look what he's got to beat.
Well, I wanted to say, like, Pardub's hand here is nuts. Like, this hand just curves out so gorgeously.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to beat it, you're going to beat it with this hand, but I still think that Paladin's favourite, even if you choose this hand, it just has too much stuff coming at you because you empty... I know the Rogue is really good at drawing stuff, and 4/4s for 1 are good, but you empty out so much completing that quest, and the Paladin just doesn't stop coming at you.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, he's going for Prep Vanish now.
I think you have to eat some damage here. I think you have to use your health as a resource, because otherwise this stuff's coming back down next turn, and I get it. He's going for the Glacial Shards 2 turns in a row, and...
Yeah, but... So the two plays there that I saw were the play that he went for with the Prep Vanish, or trade in the Dagger and the Brewmaster to take out the Corpse Taker, which looked gorgeous to me to just get a really nice trade. He could even then have frozen the Armani Berserker as well when he played, and even Shadow Stepped the Shard back to his hand. It's not even like he was leaving this Shard just out there to die. I think that was too aggressive a use of a Vanish in this situation.
And you use this phrase a lot. Sometimes you've got to be optimistic, sometimes you haven't.
Yeah.
This time, you've just got to be optimistic they're not going to kill you.
Yeah.
You've just got to use your resources. Because this Paladin's just going to make bigger and bigger boards, and you haven't got to Vanish anymore.
Like, it's not like you were just destroying your opponent's tempo by vanishing. He was kind of ruining his own tempo. This 3/2 Brewmaster, it doesn't really matter that it's bouncing stuff back to hand all that much, I would argue. Yeah. I think it's just having it as a 3/2 that can trade in.
Back when Quest Rogue could actually beat aggro, the mists of time of like October, the way you won wasn't by just panicking. You sort of had to slowly, not slowly, but you had to pace the advantage how you could, and this doesn't feel like pacing.
It does mean, however, to Pardub's to his credit, that I think he can just complete the quest with what he had in hand.
Right.
Whereas he can now go 4th Glacial Shard, 5th Glacial Shard with Shadow Step. He could play the quest this turn, and I mean, I don't know, maybe he deems it worthy to get the quickest quest completion possible. I, however, have the fear that a turn 6 quest completion, while obviously good, isn't what you want to be moving towards that quickly, because he doesn't have many cards now.
And against even Paladin in particular, if it's a different aggro deck and you can suddenly just put down a 4/4 taunt and slow it down, fine. But this thing's just going to go 4/4 taunt. What are you?
Yeah. It's a very interesting decision.
I'm not even going to go out and say it's wrong. It's just
No.
this is such a hard matchup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any way you can see to even try and win the game, sure, go for it. But
I just think the main difference is between like even Paladin and any other aggro deck, like Odd Rogue, for example, the more aggressive face versions of aggro. Vanish is really good in this matchup because against Blessing of Kings, against the expensive minions like Tyrion, Lich King, Spike Ridge Steed, Vanish is insane.
And we've seen what's happening now. He's just playing his Spike Ridge Steed and not caring. And another downside of this matchup, this is why this matchup is so difficult for the Rogue in particular, is 4/4s aren't that big against this deck.
Yeah.
You actually kill the things.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
But he's still on 29. He's got Valera, Sonya, and a Charger in hand. I mean, he can win this, but...
Oh, absolutely.
We just need to keep an eye on the fact that even though it looks good for him right now, even Paladin is not scared of this size minion.
Yeah, I mean, Pardub's last couple of draws have been pretty nutty. Getting the Novice Engineer into Sonya means he should be able to clear up pretty easily. That is, however, if Arakoj makes 4 attack minions. Because for the moment, this board is very small. There's nothing that can actually be traded into with the South Sea deckhand for it to be sacrificed off.
I think the thing he'll be most scared of here is obviously the Scalebane, the Scalehide. He just wants to make sure that can't kill itself 20 times. Because at the moment, the health's okay, but if he sets up a situation where he's half killed Pardub and Pardub just gains 16 health.
Yeah, I mean, Scalehide isn't so bad now. I agree, later on down the line, Scalehide will ruin his win condition.
I mean, for now, he's not scared of anything at this point, other than time. Time is always against you in this position when the quest is complete.
I mean, the worst thing for the moment isn't even necessarily the Sonya into deckhand. It's the fact that another Novice Engineer will be put back into the hand.
Yeah.
It's time for a little blood.
But this is kind of reminiscent of the one I was talking about that happened to me. But this is getting good for Pardub.
These draws, man.
But how do you get the 4/4s through for victory? Even if you have as many 4/4s as you want, within reason, obviously, this is as many 4/4s as you want. It's still kind of hard to get the killing blow through.
I don't know.
It's getting closer. I've got to admit,
This looks like a game-winning hand to me for Pardub.
Like 27 health's a lot.
Valera, like, I don't know, in my opinion, no matter how good you think Valera is, it's better than that. Like,
yeah.
When you have the quest completed, it just wins. Unless a big board is made that I guess can't be dealt with, but I don't know, even the Sonya there, this board just gets cleared up, man.
Justice is mine.
Yeah. Slight sorry. Yeah.
Do you use your
nicely
Pyro
done.
quality now, or do you just Blessing of Kings take down Sonya and move on with your life? And wait for an even greedier Pyro quality?
I feel like for Arakoj, the play might be, if I just ignore Pardub's hand and...
Yeah, try and do that.
Try and pretend
you can
see
allow
what
for
it is.
Valera, because that's the thing you've got to beat.
Yes, yeah. So I think Arakoj maybe needs to say, I pray Pardub's hand is rubbish, and I clear the board.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going for. Going for the equality Pyro,
Blessing.
then Blessing. Yeah, nice way to go about it.
Do you like to play with fire?
See, with Quest Road games, you always have to look back after to see how each decision worked out. It's like the early Vanish did seem incredibly poor, but he's in this position because of the early Vanish.
And I do actually wonder there for Arakoj if this play that he went for, while it was, it was a cute play to keep the Pyromancer alive, I wonder if just going Pyro Equality Corpse Taker was a better way to... Oh no, he's already drawn the Wind Fury Harvest, so I guess the damage output for Corpse Taker isn't actually that high. It's interesting.
And he knows, he does know now that he has to get things done quickly. He's going to slowly, fairly rapidly get outvalued in a lot of situations.
This does get down to 5-4, I suppose.
Zola.
But yeah, man, like, this whole hand is absurd for Pardub. He's going to draw his whole deck and then just start lab recruiting everything back in. As long as he doesn't die to aggro, as long as he finds, more importantly, that Scalehide that you were talking about, Pardub should be fine here.
Yeah, I was talking in terms of he couldn't win this, but I was wrong.
Yeah. And to be fair, his draws after he went for the very aggressive use of Vanish were very, very strong. He got the perfect cards in the perfect order.
Tarim, Death and Decay we need to keep an eye on. That's the thing we should just look for here.
That is a very good spot.
Just happens to be all the right shapes and sizes.
I have no response. That's a pretty absurd combo.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
In fact, that's an insane combo. That's Arakoj's route back into this game.
Except the Scalehide has appeared.
Well, even then, it's obviously very good here. But if Pardub overextends, he's just seen an equality. He's not going to be that afraid of a board clear.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's got the weirdest board clear ever.
Justice is mine.
He knows the Scalehide's back in hand. Oh, he knows there's another one, sorry. Almost certainly.
Pardub can't quite decide here whether to go for the Scalehide or the dagger. You obviously want to dagger now because then you can play the Lyra and you still have a dagger equipped for when you play the South Sea deckhand.
Maybe he just feels that's too slow. Like, I know you want the dagger equipped, but also, yeah.
He doesn't have any more Scalehides now, though, right? Like, I mean, sorry, he has another one in his deck, but he doesn't have any Scalehides in hand.
Protecting the Zola there is really nice.
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward, but even so, he has actually played this. I'm not going to talk about turn 3 again because I'm not sure, but the rest of it he seems to have played really nicely.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree
Winter is
with this turn. Like, yeah, the fact that he has another Scalehide in his deck, I suppose, makes it all right. But this, I think, opens him up to... Actually, no, I was going to say, even if Scalehide is the last card in his deck, he still draws it, right? Because he's just got a Minstrel on board. He just draws his whole deck in the next couple of turns.
I think Arakoj is just trying to... He knows he's lost, incredibly.
Yeah.
And he's going for a situation where he can just get the cheesy win. Clearing the board once with Tarim and Death and Decay is not good enough. He's like, okay, just going to try and sneak this one.
He has the cards to get that kind of sneaky victory rolling.
Yeah.
By going Tarim into Death and Decay into the turn after, if he draws a quality Avenging Wrath, maybe that gets there. Who knows?
And it's always worth going for the cheeky win. If real Hearthstone isn't going to win you the game, go for cheeky Hearthstone.
Like, this is a big old board, and also a lot of damage afterwards. That Tyrion, the Ashbringer from Tyrion, will be doing a fair amount of damage. Because the taunts aren't there for Pardub. Giggling Inventor? What Giggling Inventor?
But now we've got the Lab Recruiter shenanigans about to start.
Also a strong point.
Which, as long as he chooses wisely...
Yes. As long as he doesn't dilute his minion with cards he doesn't want. Like, he shouldn't just be shuffling for the sake of shuffling.
Yeah. And Pardub, looking for all the world like he's going to get back into this one. And then his position gets kind of interesting.
Yeah, obviously he starts to go infinite here.
It is a token druid for Arco. So, you know, the token druid against the rogue, get another matchup where the rogue struggles mightily.
Yeah. And even Death Rattle.
I'm going to even if you give it the Hunter matchup, which I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I don't even think Death Rattle is that bad of a matchup against Quest Rogue anymore.
Have we seen much control? I mean, there's quite a lot of sort of really slow warrior out there. But we haven't seen that much control this time around.
I mean, it's kind of erroneous, isn't it? Because we're calling Death Rattle Hunter and Malagos Druid control, whereas it's not. But here, Pardub, running out of time on the rope, he is giving those opportunities which previously were not there to Arakoj. And this is now a lot of damage that is being pushed forward.
It's definitely a metric lot of damage.
Reporting for duty.
Agreed.
Wow.
This is an opening that I don't think should have been made for Pardub. This is what I'm talking about with the use of vicious Scalehide earlier on. I think he might have thrown away some of his key cards a little bit too early.
Yeah.
But with that pickup of the second Vanish right off the top there, he completely blows up Arakoj's aggression and probably chances of winning the game. You can see from his face there, Arakoj knows that was so devastating. He'd actually made a chance for him to win the game.
However... I mean, I think you're right. Just going with... He has got one turn where he can make so many things at 3-3. Unfortunately, that's smaller than 4-4.
Yeah.
Again, maybe he can sneak. But I think you're right. That was his chance of winning. No Vanish there. And Crazy Corpse. Don't even know the words of cards anymore. flying in. But yeah, this is the end, and
Reporting.
I've got this down as an almost unwinnable matchup. So
Reporting.
shows what I know yet again.
And I can, like, the more I think about Pardub's initial most important choice in the game of going prep vanish on turn 4, the more I can understand what he's thinking. Like, it's a bad matchup. Let's just pretend that the cards in my deck come in exactly the right order after this. And they did. He got the cards that he wanted, and he played to that out, which is a perfectly valid way of playing an unfavorable matchup. Arguably the correct way to go about it, even if though it's very risky and very optimistic.
I feel that he played a lot of the game with like 20-something health, though. Which could have been used as 15 health most of the game and still been fine. Wait one extra turn for the vanish still.
Oh, okay. So you think he could have just saved back on the vanish?
I don't know if we were right or wrong, but I feel like he could still have saved back because he has so much extra health. It felt like it was almost a little bit. Anytime you've got too much health as Rogue, you've probably gone too quickly.
Yeah, okay. But like I said, the early turns, we could debate that for
Yeah, but the later turns, like you say, he's played to what could come.
I would actually argue I haven't liked a couple of the most recent turns. I think he hasn't been closing out the game as aggressively as he could. I think he's been just playing out his premium, really good cards too quickly. Like the fact that the scale hides have all been played. Another one's just picked up, obviously. But he used them all too early, whereas they were the most important cards. Thankfully now he's found another one. He used the glacial shards, I think, too aggressively. And so he wasn't able to freeze enough stuff. If these draws hadn't come here, he could have just died. Like, I think he's saving back his lab recruiters too aggressively. He wants to go infinite with lab recruiter and stuff like that. Just shuffle good cards in.
I think his brain kind of turned off when he'd done the hard work. It's like, I've won this, so I'm just going to play cards and win now.
Yes.
That is a thing that everybody does at some point.
Yeah.
And now he's found himself in this. I mean, it's not even a pickle, it's just a waste of everybody's time almost that he's caused. Yeah, like, I don't know. It feels like Arakoj has slowly been dragging his way back into this game for a long while now. I mean, this is not a guy it is a guy who went 0-5 last winter, but this is not the same guy. He's done a lot of hard work over the last year. This is not 0-5 play from Arakoj. Just to point out, I don't know if I made it clear at the start, Pardub is 4-1. He's got the up float.
Even Pardub here throwing away both scale hides. This is all scale hides gone from his deck now if they die.
Yeah, and the one way you lose is cheeky, sneaky, slow damage from Arakoj. It's just, don't lose them.
Like, here I can understand it because it has to be such a specific combination of cards that Pardub hasn't represented, he already has in hand.
Yeah.
Even then, though, with no taunt available left on the old corpse deck here, I think that is just going to be game over in favour of Pardub. Finally.
I'm almost out of cards.
A weird game of Hearthstone.
Very odd game of Hearthstone.
Look at me.
Oh, now nice the emotes again. How did that work out for you with the druids?
Yeah,
I think I'll wait till I kill him this time. Okay, 2 games to 1.
The even paladin finally falling there for Arakoj, which, while on day 1 it had mixed results, it's been looking pretty strong so far in this series. Obviously losing to Boston in the first series, but I would say I'm liking the way it's looking against the majority of the field.
I think so too, and even though people are a little tiny bit more ready for it than they were in Atlanta, like you say, even though it lost that series,
it's a favourable matchup. It usually will have won that.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be the Token Druid for Arakoj, which I think he'll be very glad he brought the Token Druid up against the Quest Rogue rather than the Mali Druid, because I feel like that can be a little bit of a closer matchup.
Yeah, you could get it. You can sometimes not draw Wild Growth, and suddenly you might have a problem on your hands.
Very possibly. Or when I'm playing Malagos Druid, what I find is I just get frozen every turn. My twig just never breaks against Quest Rogue. When I'm up against good players, they just freeze Zola, freeze Brewmaster, complete their quest with the shard, and I'm just crying the whole time.
But this is so difficult. That Fan of Knives, obviously a big deal. It stops the thing you've got to go for, the one turn, I play Whispering Woods, are you dead? And it's not the worst thing anyway, because they Fan of Knives you, they just pass it back and you start making other things. But this hand from Pardub, if you wanted to choose an opening hand, it's not far off it, I don't think.
Ooh. Very interesting there from Arakoj, throwing away the Soul of the Forest just to get straight back the other one in the same position.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think he wasn't that bothered either way. He was like, I should probably go for some ramp because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he gets the other one again. On both.
And it's a difficult way to play this because obviously a route that one could go for if one was so inclined is to just go coin into Whispering Woods.
I think you do. And just say, have you got it? Because if they haven't got it, you're in the next round. That's it. It's game.
Justice is mine.
But what happens if they do?
Oh, did he full keep?
I don't think that was in his starting hand.
Okay.
I don't think so.
If they do, then you have to do that the rest of your deck. You could do some backup plan. There's a backup plan. Now you don't
That's
coin.
a strong backup plan.
Now you've got
I'm wondering if you coin out the teacher.
Coin out the teacher.
And say, what do you do about this? How do you kill this?
Okay.
Or, I mean, like, you could just go teacher next turn, but it's...
Yeah, the extra one dude from the coin probably isn't worth holding onto the coin for. Let's get on with it, yeah.
So if you go coin teacher this turn, your follow-up next turn is swipe, very possibly, because they might just develop a little board that you just swipe out the way.
What to do?
Oh, he's just going for it. I mean, I don't disagree with it. It's so hard to know what's right when you're looking at both hands in this situation because it's, do you think they've got Phantom Knives?
Like,
oh my goodness, Pardub.
Pardub is a big old BMer, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they're, because they're both Czech, they're, I don't know, they're part of the same community, perhaps, but...
Rivals?
Very possibly. Maybe we've walked into the biggest rivalry since, like, Holmes and Moriarty.
Paradox and Dallas W.
Think.
Lol.
Well,
do you need to go prep pod there? What are you going to do with 1 mana? Like, why not just do that next turn, right?
Yeah.
Pay attention,
I don't know.
class.
There was a time when prep pod was just the thing you had to do, and then there's now a time where it's the thing you mustn't do. Yeah, it seems to be no hurry.
Like, prep pod at the start of this turn would have done the exact same thing, but, I mean, for Arakoj, this really could not have gone worse.
Yeah, and also now these Soul of the Forest become a little bit more sketchy because he's terrified of Vanish.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't got a hand that does anything, and... I still don't... This is why Quest Rogue is always a bit of an enigma. When you ask people what they think, you were saying earlier about different pros say different things. Everyone's mileage varies so much with this deck that it's so hard to evaluate without playing thousands of games.
I just don't think that was the way to go for Arakoj. Like, I totally understand your point that if they don't have the answer, you pretty much just win. But even then, I don't even know if I necessarily agree with that, because say he goes coin Whispering Woods, and imagine the Fan of Knives wasn't there.
Yeah.
He then goes Whispering Woods, and he's attacking for 6 damage a turn. That's good. That's an upside.
You have a lot of draws to make that more than 6 damage a turn, though, in the next... Because you've got to get it before the Vanish, is my thought.
Yeah, I agree. It can go well, but does it go well often enough, considering how big the punish is?
So my argument the other way, so I'm not sure either way, but the other way is if you wait until turn 5 and do it, they've got twice as many outs because they've got double Vanish that punishes you as well at that point.
But yeah, I agree. But if you've gone coin Whispering Woods, and then you follow up with Soul of the Forest, Vanish still wrecks you the majority of the time in a couple of turns, or they just go prep Vanish.
Yeah. I certainly see the argument either way.
No, absolutely. It's an interesting discussion to
Because if you're going to get wrecked with them on 12, it's different if you're getting wrecked with them on 25, and you can go back and forth definitely in both directions.
I just, personally, I feel like Arakoj's play so often left him with 2 completely dead cards in Soul of the Forest in hand. Which, even though he threw them away, he ended up with them in hand. You have to play with the cards in your hand, and he should have been trying to go for a more consistent play in the late game.
Counterpoint once again, because I like these counterpoints, they're fun.
Fair.
There might not have been a late game looking at this board.
But if he hadn't played minions, Sonya wouldn't have activated.
Sure. That's also
the
fair.
quest was only completed because
of Sonya.
It was prep pod into Sonya double deck hand.
What to do?
Like, that is more so with Malagos Druid than with Token Druid, but just not playing any minions for as long as possible is a very valid route against Quest Rogue because it just denies their Sonya completely.
Looking at Spreading Plague here. So how do you find a way to win? Is there anything better than Spreading Plague ever going to happen to you here?
Well, I think you can try and maneuver a better Spreading Plague on the next turn.
Yeah, and then you get the Scenario's backup plan. Of course, in fairness, we've sort of ragged on his play a bit, I understand. He hasn't had a single buff in his hand apart from Scenarios all game. That doesn't help you plan. So if he's decided, look, I'm going to draw my way out of it, he'd look like a genius.
Yeah. I don't know. I think would have preferred the route of Coiner Teacher instead.
Yeah, that was much harder to deal with, I guess.
Ta-da!
Justice is mine.
Well, things are about to start getting blown up.
Yeah, Pardub does need to be afraid of Spreading Plague because it's a very, very discrete difference between Quest Rogue having 4/4 minions now rather than 5/5 against Quest Rogue.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, the difference. Like, you know, for example, if Devil Saw Egg gave 4/4 Devil Saws instead of 5/5s, Druid, I think, would be a pretty big favourite in that matchup. Just because
it's so slow.
Spreading Plague would just win you the game there.
Instead of just being the world's worst speed bump.
Exactly. And so here, if Pardub plays very heavily into Spreading Plague, it could be his downfall.
Yeah, and he's used one fan obviously early on, so it will be just doing it the old-fashioned way over 2 turns, most likely. And he might not have 2 turns, of course. The Scenarios will be pretty terrifying.
And so here we are. The option for Pardub, for Arakoj, get rid of that minion, give yourself another Scarab, and pray that this gets the job done. No minions at all can be played for Pardub, so it's only spells that he's going to be relying on to be able to fight back against this. Obviously, hoping for the good old fan of knives most heavily.
Yeah, if he doesn't get that, and he doesn't get a way to bounce something back to hand, this could be really super messy. Well, there's the Vanish.
So how many minions can he clean up otherwise? He can go 1, 2, 3, 4 minions he can clean up. Which, only leaves 3 minions for his opponent. You're probably never dying through that. I don't even think you necessarily have to go for the Vanish. You just save it for after he goes Soul of the Forest.
Just for a second there, I thought it was lethal, but it's not, because Vanish costs mana. That's how mana works. Get all of your cards back.
Actually, you've seen both Spreading Plagues now, haven't you?
You're just killing them.
Yeah. Oh, no, wait, you've only... The first one was Malfurion.
But if it wasn't for that Vanish, this worst-case scenario was just going to destroy him.
Ha ha ha. Either way, for Arakoj here, bit of a dire situation, just trying to hope that these Scarabs on their own can protect him. Whereas I think we can see it's going to be difficult to get the job done against the onslaught that Pardub's got here, because even without Valera, in this particular instance, the choice to go for Vanish not only saved him from the damage from his opponent, but it's also a very large amount of value as well.
That was quite amusing to me, because we discussed whether he'd use both Spreading Plagues or not. That was 6 mana Spreading Plague he just played. Because minions are 2 mana each. So he had another one, kind of. But yeah, this is where that discussion really matters.
Justice is mine.
It looks like it might be Justice is yours. Look at the difference in body language from when we got here. Pardub leaning forward, excited about every turn. And Arakoj is like, please don't do this. Don't let me get 3-0'd by Quest Rogue. It's only something that happens to other people.
But if this Druid does end up losing, due to very arguably his plays in the early game, which got punished very hard, the Death Rattle answer, while it's gotten better after the Giggling Inventor left Quest Rogue, still not a great matchup.
Yeah, and it very much depends on how he chooses to mulligan him. If you just make some eggs and hit them, you can get there very quickly in a Keleseth or 2. But if you start sort of going into the trudge, the slow walk towards Katrina's, you get vanished and things just go badly. Because Hunter, it doesn't recurve very well. You've got 7 mana, you don't have a lot of things you can just suddenly repopulate the board with.
And the comeback is now very much upon us. And here for Pardub as he takes a drink of something. I have absolutely no idea what that green carton was. And it's going to be just the Death Rattle Hunter left here for Arakoj. And we've seen for Pardub pretty consistently here the power of Vanish in Questro in the last couple of matchups. And if you thought it was good in those last 2 matchups, whoo boy, is it good against Hunter.
It so is. They just can't get the stuff back down.
Yeah.
Like the curve is built to have options on each turn, not to play a load of stuff on one turn.
Yes.
And yeah, you just can't get back on the board quick enough. So you've got to get on the board under that Vanish, and there it is with a Glacial Shard as well, just in case. And here's a preparation.
Yeah, prep Vanish.
Your move, Arakoj. Arakoj.
That's the one you're looking for. That's enough for Arakoj. Obviously, against Quest Rogue, it is very weak to aggressive decks. So you try and look for the aggressive half of the deck. You look for eggs, you look for Terror Scale, Play Dead.
I want to keep the tracking. You tend not to because you don't want to waste your beasts. But this isn't about turn 8. This is about where is my stuff.
Finding egg as much as possible. Yeah.
Like an extra free mulligan.
Yeah, and I think Arakoj, you know, he looked a little bit middling with this hand, which is probably because Rexar and Mossy Horror actually used to be not that bad in this matchup. But that was when Giggling Inventor was in the deck. That was when you could push for a lethal through Giggling Inventor with Mossy Horror. Now, while you might be able to snipe off a couple of minions with it, it's not worth a card slot in your deck. You don't want to play it against Quest Rogue.
Quest Rogue is the cockroach of decks.
It's just was not done.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it. What do you do?
Traveler.
And I hate it.
Taking a chance there just to do an emote back. Now he's got everything he could ever want. It might not even be enough looking at this, but...
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what Prep Vanish does. It means you could make 3 or even 4 Devil Swords, and it just would not make a lick of difference.
And then slowly play them back one at a time until you die.
For 5 mana, it means everything doesn't work.
I mean, well, we've been talking about Arakoj's hand. Pardub was just throw my pen around. He's just drawn every bounce spell and everything you could ever want.
Pretty much. I mean, he's going to be doing the exact same thing he did in game 1, right? He could go for Shard plus Brewmaster, Prep Vanish it back.
And he's going to be under far less pressure. He's going to be under a little bit of pressure, but it's not going to be the relentless repeated pressure. It's just going to be one wave and then it's gone, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting as to why he didn't go for Shard Brewmaster, because there's the kind of obvious punish of Flanking Strike killing off the Brewmaster. But if the more likely outcome, I would argue, of Play Dead or Terror Scale Stalker comes out, then you can just go Prep Vanish on it there.
Hail, friend.
And play yet more you just play more Glacial Shards afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this might be what he was looking at, though, is force even more stuff out. Sort of along the lines we were talking about in game 1.
Yeah.
Because I think he felt that the egg was guaranteed to be procced because it was insta-taken from the tracking.
Okay, so he was just setting up for going for Prep Vanish on turn 5 or 6, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think he had the hand read that one of those 2 left-hand cards was a proc for the egg because the egg was taken so quickly.
Yeah.
Which is actually incorrect, but yeah. Tarek's just like looking at the screen and giggling here like an old inventor would, because it's like, what can you do against this hand?
Yeah. This is a sad state of affairs indeed.
Your weakness.
And it's worked out for him. He's just coaxed the extra stuff out of hand.
Challenge accepted.
Is he going to emote?
Yeah, Arakoj knows what's up. You don't pop the egg unless you're bouncing all that bad boys back to the hand.
Gotta feel sorry for Arakoj.
Yeah.
Gets to 2-0 up with what I think is one of the best matchups in Hearthstone. I know I'm going to get lots of Quest Rogue players telling me I'm incredibly wrong, because they always tell you that, even if you're right, I've noticed.
As a wise frog once said, feels bad, man.
Hail, friend.
Because this is why Death Rattle Hunter falls apart, because you're supposed to play Devil Saws for 1 mana. You're supposed to go play dead and get a 1 mana 5/5. When you play them for 5 mana, it's terrible. That's just not how you win.
Yeah, Arakoj's got to try and work out here if there's any possibility of Rexar ever getting anything done here.
Yeah.
Notice the amount of sort of very specific wording I used there to imply that probably doesn't work. But what's better? I mean, what's better?
Like, he's obviously considering just playing out the 3/3s here for the most amount of stats that he can put onto the board this turn. I agree he shouldn't be playing Rexar on this turn. He should be saving that for destroying minions, hopefully next turn.
Sure.
But as we can see, he even has the prep Questeroni. Just for a little bit of salt in the wound.
This deck looks really good to me.
Really?
They should add some cards to it to make it even better, like giggling events, and maybe make the quests cheaper, easier to do.
Well, that's the thing, is I was thinking, ever since the nerf, Quest Rogue's rubbish, you know, it just doesn't get the job done anymore, it just dies. And then last night I was watching Rage try and get a finish with Quest Rogue, and I'm just like, huh, this is the best deck ever made in Hearthstone.
But I always think about whatever Rage plays.
Exactly.
Rage just makes every deck look like the best deck in Hearthstone.
There's 2 things that can make Quest Rogue look good. Rage and drawing this hand as Pardub. Those are the 2 things that make it look insane.
Me playing against it.
Yeah, okay, that will also get the job done.
In fairness though, yeah, me playing against it is why I thought it was rubbish right now, because I just haven't had any issues beating it.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm not in the top 25 Legends spots where people play it really well.
Yeah, Pardub here knows as well, with the Rexar having already come down, he can just heal back up, get a big old board. There is basically no punish, and I think this is looking like it's going to be the reverse sweep. Just wondering what on earth could happen here. I'm thinking Spider Bomb, maybe, if it went perfectly. Some kind of miracle zombies here has to occur. And I think it would have to be like Bloat Bat plus Stubborn Gastropod is it.
That sounds about right.
That's not that.
And Pardub's going to get this reverse sweep. Both players will be 5 and 1, so everything's still to play for Arakoj as well. Again, somewhat different from last year's experience for him. He does give it up, but 5 and 1, as long as he can just shake that off, is still a fantastic